Yeah. Who's this?
Hey there. Real Talk Though, R-E-E-L, by the way, Talk Though. Myself, who this? Alongside me, Jefé, man in the lens right now. He'll be joining me short enough soon, right here in this location. This is iconic. This is historic. This is, of course, better yet said, and the only way I can put it is Queens, New York. Queens, royalty in the name, why not? This is the borough that harbors an iconic piece of movie history, as is what we'll dive into right now. If you love gangster flicks, if you love that kind of mob stuff, affiliation, all that, Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci and all of them, all ganged up together to make this one flick right here, which again, this is where a good part of it, a very important part of it was filmed and made to be that important because it builds up to the end, to the anticipation, the nail-biting, tremending style of what's to come of poor old Tommy. Of course, I'm referring to Goodfellas from 1990. Again, De Niro, Liotta, Pesci, all in that. This is where Jimmy finds out that Tommy got made, but not in the way that Tommy intended to be made, or they would have hoped for him at least, or he got his abrupt end. If you haven't seen it till now, I'm sorry for the abrupt ending or spoiler, but you had 30 years or so to do so. Because right now, we're doing the 30th year anniversary deep dive into Goodfellas. Now, I'll show you. We need to watch out, watch our step. I'm showing you right now, this is proof. I'm not gonna lie to you. Maspeth, New York, Queens, to be specific. Just gotta watch out for the trucks. This is a truck stop after all. Right here is where a phone booth would have been had this place still been standing, but pandemic of course affected it, but more importantly right there, there's proof enough. Goodfellas Diner. This is where it all went down. Again, this is where Tommy got made into a corpse.
What happened? They whacked him. They fucking whacked him.
Real Talk Though, hi, I'm Jeff. My friends call me Jefé.
Who this?
Who this? You introduced us early on. We got the
Yes, sir.
App, the diner where Jimmy finds out Tommy was whacked. We'll get into Tommy later on. Henry,
Yeah.
who is the star of the film, he starts off as just like a runner for the mob.
Right.
As he gets older, he gets more responsibilities.
And of course the infamous opening line of the movie, for as long as I always remember.
I always wanted to be a gangster.
Well, it was hilarious the way he looked at it though, because I get it, he was young and like taken aback by just how much influence they had, but he just wanted to cut the bread line early Sunday morning.
Yeah.
That was cool, I guess. That's honest, at least.
Yeah, there was so much. I mean, that's power. Like, you know, you don't have to do what average people do. You know, but then he got respect from Jimmy and from Paulie when he got pinched, and he didn't rat on anybody.
Right. Of course.
That's what gave him respect from them. You know, as he rises in power, he befriends Tommy, and it's through Tommy, played by Joe Pesci, that he meets
Karen. Crazy ass Karen.
Crazy ass Karen. Karen is played by Lorraine Bracco, who got her second win in The Sopranos. She is she's a standard of beauty.
Oh yeah. I wish you could put the drool emoji over my face for this part, because that's the best way I could define Lorraine Bracco at that time.
Yeah.
Jesus, what a baddie.
Yeah. And they meet on a double date.
Yep, a blind double date.
Yeah. And it was just so Tommy, played by Joe Pesci, just so that he could date this Jew chick.
Yep.
He wanted to date her, but she wouldn't go out with Italians alone.
Right.
That shows you just a bit of just the way the times were. Like, I like you, you're cool and all, but I'm not going to go out with you by myself because you're Italian.
Was it more so her decision, or you think maybe the parents' input?
I think that's that's their upbringing.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at it back in the day, there were those belief systems like it's not the fault of the, it's just you got to protect yourself. I don't know how these Italians are. If you're gonna go with someone. Make sure there's someone with you.
A nice Jew boy.
Yeah. And then it's through that we're introduced to Karen.
Talk to you after what you just did to me? Forget it. I'm not talking to you about
Wait a
anything.
second, I thought you were gonna stand me up. You look bored, you didn't say anything, what do you expect?
And then that's where, like, there's a part in that scene where his eyes light up.
Yeah.
And that's where he actually becomes attracted to her. It's like, oh, you're standing up to me.
Oddly enough, yeah.
Let me make it up to you. Karen.
I'll think about it.
That was suave though on his part, because he played it off to make her seem like maybe she was being standoffish.
Yeah.
Made her doubt herself, and then of course she ends up being, okay, we'll talk, I'll see you, whatever, later.
Yeah.
Think about it. It's gonna cost you, Hill.
I'm gonna make it up.
It's gonna cost you a lot.
But they end up connected. You know.
Then she gets a taste of the lifestyle he's in. Of course, he tells her pretty much, oh, I'm in construction.
Yeah.
Checks his hands, like, oh, you don't have construction-like hands. Like, oh, I'm whatever, behind the scenes or whatever.
Yeah. Because he goes in and he's exerting his power. He's doing what he saw what Jimmy would do. He goes in, everyone gets a 20 to make sure everything runs smoothly for them. He gets shout-outs from important people. Karen, like, what do you think of her character?
I mean, if I really had to be honest, overall, I think you're leaning more towards, as we talked off air, more the ride or die, the epitome of, the embodiment of.
Yeah.
I kind of lean more towards, I think she was straight up crazy.
Hello? This is Karen Hill. I want to talk to you. Hello? Hello? Don't hang up on me.
I want to talk to you. You keep away from my husband, you hear me? Hello? Open the door! Answer me!
So stupid that she ended up being crazy and believing that this guy of all people will be like potentially the love of his life, just because she got a good taste early on of who he was and where he stood in that neighborhood, in that whole community of who he was deeply involved in. I mean, because if we jump ahead right into the part where he beats up the guy that was trying to get like handsy with her too, the friend that they met at the tennis club initially.
Yeah.
He beats him up in his own driveway. She can see from her window what happened. But of all things, when he hands her the gun, says, oh, put that away or whatever, you know, who can blame her for running away or saying absolutely not, making a big deal out of it?
Yeah.
He knew what he could have been involved in too.
By then you know. By then you know it's not construction. You know, there's that. It's two different worlds. It's like, would you get involved in that danger? Or would you step away from it?
I'll be honest, I'm questioning her first. Like, okay, what'd you do? And most likely, you know your girl better than anybody. It's like, you're gonna have to ask, okay, what did you do exactly?
Because when you really look at it, like, why were you in the car with him to begin with?
Exactly.
Because I'm pretty sure he knew that they were seeing each other. By then, you see that they were spending a great amount of time together. There was chemistry, there was something there.
Mm-hmm.
So for her to call up crying, she obviously was someplace she shouldn't have been.
In his car, right.
Yeah. She obviously shouldn't have been in that guy's car. But I think Henry, he was so someplace else that he didn't pay attention to that.
That's the part that threw me off too, because being who he is and pretty much getting any girl he wants, at least in his neighborhood,
Yeah.
of all things, that's not the first thing that jumps to his mind. Like, what are you doing in this car though?
Yeah. No, I think it was just, he just had to exert his power. That was it. You know, and then you see later on, you see those traits that while they were into each other, you know, there was a lot of power, there was a lot of money coming in, so
Oh yeah.
they got involved in a bunch of other things, you know. Yeah. Yeah, I think for us, it's something to analyze. But I mean, when you think about it in Scorsese's film, some of those things, they don't really add up. It's more just to push the story forward. You know, that was it.
But then we gotta jump to the infamous scene, of course, the Karen, are you crazy? When she's on top of him in bed as he wakes up to see her with a gun dead in his face, him looking up at the barrel.
Yeah.
if that happens to me, I can't speak for you obviously, but if that happens to me, male, female, whatever, I'm looking at that person not only different, I can't trust them afterwards, and I gotta see what I gotta do to get away from them. You can't let that happen either, point blank, period.
Do you love her? Do you?
Karen. I love you. You know I love you. Karen.
She just wanted to prove a point, you know. And of course, he didn't feel safe, but there was so much other things going on in his life, and you know, probably being whacked in the streets, or you know.
And there was like knee deep in it together, so
Yeah,
it was like
you kind of got to ride it out at that point.
stick to it, right? No choice. And then he flips her off, whatever, talks her out of it, and then she ends up screaming, "I'm sorry," at the end of it too. So where's her head at?
Yeah, it's pretty much that lifestyle. Karen was a part of Tommy's, was a part of Henry's rise.
Right.
But Tommy was introduced to Henry by Jimmy. Like, they started working together at a young age.
Yeah.
But as he grew in power, he became like the downfall of Henry. For some reason. Like, he has like this different type of crazy. Let's get into that.
Yeah. Tommy was definitely unique in his own sense as far as how crazy he really ended up being, because he was so easily triggered, I guess, as popular as the reference it is now to use that, by so many little things that normally you kind of let go over your head or kind of like slide off your back.
The first one being the whole shoe shine thing.
Yeah.
You know, when the maid guy, he comes out of jail and he remembers Tommy as a young kid who used to shine his shoes, which is no different from Henry, who used to, you know, run and get numbers from the other guys. But he took offense to that. Like, once he started wearing his own suits and he had some power, he took offense to people bringing up his past. Mm-hmm. And that was like the first thing.
That stuck out to me like a sore thumb. That and so many other things he did.
Yeah.
Because if he's so ashamed or like angry about his past, what did happen in the past? Because it couldn't have just been like being a shoe shine boy getting talked down to literally like that. It's got to be deeper than that.
There's always that. He's not that tall. Maybe he has that Napoleon complex that like he feels like he always has a chip on his shoulder.
Right.
Paulie mentioned it. Like Paulie said that he's a cowboy. Like he always has something to prove.
Yeah.
You know? And even though when he had money, he had power, it still wasn't enough. Like, you know, even that other scene where he's telling these jokes and everyone is focused on him, he's still unsure. Like, he was still like testing Henry, like, am I a clown? Do I amuse you? Like that scene, you know?
Right.
And that's probably like one of the most famous scenes even now. Like, even people that don't know about the film, that became a meme in itself.
Oh yeah.
The guy that they killed, who kept on referencing him being the shoe shine kid, was a made guy. Right. And by mob standards, you don't touch a made man.
Right.
If he says something to you don't like, you got to get permission from other people before you can touch him. That's the rules.
Right.
And even though people broke the rules in the mob, there are certain rules that you do not break.
Their own set of rules, yeah. Which oddly enough, they would have their own rules even for themselves, as reckless and wild as they were.
It's still within that time of La Cosa Nostra, where it's our thing. Like, no one else understands, but it's our thing. So you got to respect the elders, you got to respect the made men. There's certain things you don't do. And, you know, not only that part of him breaking rules, but in that circle, he was the one with the most potential. And for some reason, he didn't see it.
Yeah.
Because he could have at a time become a made man.
Yeah, he could have.
Kind of, in killing a made man, he fucked him up, himself up, he fucked up Jimmy and him.
His whole circle, yeah. You would think it'd be Jimmy naturally would be like the one to be made first, had he been Italian, or even Henry, because he had so much love and respect. Everybody seemed to take to him immediately. But I guess Tommy being the one that would naturally be into it, just because he was Italian by default, it reminded me so much of Sonny from Godfather, where he was the one implied to be the next up, to take the mantle. So that's why he was just so crazy and wild, did whatever he wanted, because like in the back of his mind, like, I'm gonna be boss anyway, so why not?
When he shoots Spider, I think you mentioned this. It's kind of like he was killing a part of himself.
Yeah, I think he saw too much of himself in Spider on his come up.
Yeah, and maybe that was it. Maybe like him coming up, he wasn't that respected by some of the older guys, and maybe that could have been his trigger. You know, that could have been his trauma. And
that's the crazy part too, because when he does kill Spider, after already shooting him in the foot because he's just being wild style with it, he sits there kind of maybe thinking maybe I fucked up because he stayed quiet for once. But Jimmy's the one nagging him, like busting his balls, like, oh, you gotta let this fucking scrub of all people talk to you like that, and that just sets him off right away.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure, like, in that time when he's processing everything, he's thinking about things from his past, he's probably thinking things from his childhood, and he felt like he had to kill that part of himself. You know? But we're at the site where Jimmy finds out that Tommy didn't get made the way that they thought he would.
Got made into a corpse.
Yeah. Okay. And that was like pretty much the end.
Yeah.
That was pretty much the end, because by mom's standards, everyone that was involved in that killing, they have to die too.
Yeah, yeah.
So he was the first, and everyone else was gonna follow.
That's it. What do you mean? He's gone. He's gone. That's it. Fuck. I knew it. I can believe it. I can't fuck it.
But that was, like, I think that was the scene that you kind of saw how disappointed Jimmy was. Because it was, if he got made, everything that they worked for, everything that they've been doing all those years, would have come. It's kind of like winning the championship.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? But in actuality, it was just like, it's kind of that thing they do in the mob. They bring you in, and you think you got it, and you don't.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what happened.
You just taste the glory, you never get it full on.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
But he ends up being their downfall. So, yeah.
And then the crazy part is to remember, like, they kill the guy, the made guy, and they have to rebury him. I mean, they have to dig him up afterwards.
Yeah, so, I mean, even then, that's a crucial scene, because then you see that what they did, they knew they couldn't get away with it. If you had to, like, rank between Tommy and Karen,
right?
Who do you think would give like a psychiatrist, like, if they had to tap into their mental health, who do you think would be the harder person to heal?
Oh, that's hard, because I know nowadays mental health is so coveted and so heralded as being something we have to all delve into or tap into. We all need a mental health day per se.
Yeah.
Shit. Karen isn't too far removed from how women act in general. No offense, of course, to the pro-fem movement, whatever.
Yeah.
She is still crazy, goes above and beyond being, I would say, dumb in how she acting that crazy kind of love.
Yeah.
I think Tommy's the one you really got to tap into, had he made it to be alive, to see what's going on there. Because I would think, at least, if he's so easily triggered by just being made fun of, there's a Napoleon complex, obviously, because he's only yay high.
Yeah.
He's got to be the cowboy of all of them, prove himself time and time again, even though he's a pure blood one.
Yeah.
I would go as far as to say maybe he was doing more than shining shoes. Like, he was that down low in height. He might have been, like, touched a little bit too much. Something might have been going on there.
Yeah.
Because that's, like, way too much for him to overreact like he did.
Yeah, that could be it too. Yeah, he could have been abused. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, difference between him and Karen became a part of the life when Henry was already in his 20s.
Right.
Tommy and Henry, they were in it from, like, when they were like 11, 12.
Mm-hmm.
So they already had a decade in.
Right.
Of doing it. So yeah, he would probably be the harder person to help out in that situation.
If you was a psychiatrist, who would you rather take on? If you could just like briefly look at their case studies and be like,
I would rather deal with Tommy. You know, I mean, my personality is I'm attracted to the crazy, the wild, because that's a part of who I am. But yeah, I would want to know, you know, what he was trying to prove, because then you know that in his mob career, there's also, he's not only fighting for power and for money and all that stuff, but he's also working to overcome some of those things that are happening in his life. When Karen pulls out the gun on him, he says, I have to worry about people killing me on the streets, and I have to deal with that in my home.
right, right.
Without understanding, you know, with Tommy, he's had that his whole life. So you got to worry about people trying to knock you off in the streets, people trying to disrespect you like underhandedly. Because even in that bar scene, when he called him shoe shine boy, he did get out of hand. He's a made guy and he has that right. But when you look at it, it was a bit disrespectful.
Oh yeah, when intense, of course.
Yeah, like he was really trying to bring him down. And someone of that height, younger than you, you keep trying to just nudge at him, you keep breaking his balls, of course.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, there probably could have been something from back then that he did to him too.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much of that went on in the mob. I mean, allegedly that went on in the Catholic Church and all that.
Yeah.
But you never know in the mob too. They might have just been like funny style, like how white boys play with their dicks.
Very likely. I mean, that's what happens when those people, when you have all that power. There's always something that you're trying to do. So
Yeah. I don't see why not.
Yeah.
I'd rather go with Karen though, just because again, looks alone, I put up with it crazy just to have her on the couch at least 1 hour a week.
Yeah.
Like, all right, go ahead, Karen. Yeah. Oh wow, Henry's scum, isn't he?
Real talk though, I'm Jeff. My friends call me Jefé.
Who this?